webinar brought to you by Notebook. We hope all of you and your loved ones are keeping safe. And while the lockdown is easing out, most of you are still staying at home. This is part of a weekly series of webinars for educators, school owners, administrators, and teachers that Notebook is arranging. We thank you for the overwhelming support we have received for the episodes thus far, and we are sure we can count on your support in the weeks to come. Every week, we will bring to you eminent panelists discussing problems that you face in your roles as educators. I'm your host for today, Shubhayu Roy. I'm also the co-founder of Notebook. The topic of today's webinar is the role of parents during the lockdown. It's been almost 2 months now that all of us have been stuck at home, staying safe while a pandemic rages around the globe. One of the worst hit has been our education system, with schools being shut down. While the school gates have been shut, most schools have adopted digital education procedures where classes have been taken online with the support of parents from various households. However, the process has been far from smooth. Educators have faced resistance from parents. Parents have had complaints about online classes, and the students are perhaps stuck between the two. Today's webinar seeks to address the problems on both sides of the table, between the parents and the educators, and we hope to arrive at some key takeaways for everybody to perhaps adopt digital solutions at home with much greater ease. Having said that, it is time to introduce our first panelist. Some of you may already know him, and he needs little introduction. It is still my pleasure and privilege to introduce to you Mr. Philip Burrett. Mr. Burrett retired as Deputy Headmaster from the Doon School in Dehradun after 44 years of serving in education across various institutions. Mr. Burrett served the Doon School as Housemaster, the Head of Department, Dean of Student Welfare, Dean of Activities, Deputy Headmaster, Second Master, and Acting Headmaster with great distinction. He also carried out a visioning exercise for the Doon School in the year 2011 through an in-depth study of a number of British public schools and various schools in the US. Mr. Burrett qualified as a leadership trainer at Wellington College, UK in the year 2000. He is also an athlete, an adventurer, and a naturalist. It is our privilege to introduce to you Mr. Philip Burrett. Sir, over to you.
Thank you very much. Am I audible, Shubhayu?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Thank you very much, Shubhayu. And a very good evening to Achin, our esteemed panelists, and all those who have taken the time and trouble to connect with us. A parent's role in a child's education ranges from the over-controlling helicopter parent to a parent who doesn't know what's happening. Or maybe one parent is overzealous while the other is rather disinterested. And most of us lie somewhere between these extremes. The online education that is taking place now during the pandemic has given parents the chance to oversee and observe their children's learning from close on hand, especially fathers who otherwise might have been too busy to have are now being given the chance to become hands-on dads. In fact, many studies have shown that the teachers would do well to incorporate parental support during this online these online classes. Let me make it clear at the beginning that online teaching is not as easy as it seems. And my sympathies and greatest respect for all those teachers who are managing to do 5 to 6 online classes on a daily basis. They're teaching, they're setting assignments, they're correcting assignments, while at the same time handling their own families during the lockdown. Cooking, housework, washing clothes, without domestic help. And they're sharing their space and their computers with their own children and husbands who are all working from home. Coupled with this is the emotional and psychological issues of loss of family business, sometimes no incomes coming in, and there are reports of domestic violence and child abuse that one reads about, which all bears witness to this stress. This is not only the time that we have to work with our children, it's also a time for us to look at ourselves. our own inadequacies and our psychological hang-ups. Many of these teachers that were asked to suddenly come on to online education were not the experienced whiz kids, and they were not very, very clued up in curation of material. And they've had a much tougher time than the teachers who've been tech savvy and who have been in the habit of using digital education for a long time. In my view, there are two things that parents need to do at a time like this. One is what I would call the essentials. And that is, parents during this time should provide a suitable learning space, provide the devices and connectivity, also to help make sure their children are connected on time and not disturbing the class. Teachers have complained of students who are now in the safety of their homes in night suits and looking rather scruffy. They are disturbing classes. Some of them are writing on screens and even putting on and sharing objectionable material with the ongoing class. The second thing that parents can do is what I call the big things. And if there's one commodity that is in excess supply during this time, it is time. There's no money, there's no space, there's no freedom, there's no eating out, there's no playing out, but there is a lot of time. And I think that this time has been given to us, that we take the opportunity to what I would call do the 5 C's. The first C is connect. And I would implore the parents to use this time to connect with our children, even if we have failed to do this in the past. And by connection, I mean really getting to know our children, doing things together, inventing games, playing chess, doing some music, art. There's so much that you can learn together online. The other thing is the affirmation that we need to give our children. They too are in a lockdown, stressful situation, just like us, but we are the adults. Affirmation is telling the child, I see you, I hear you. And online learning gives us the chance to see our children work, applaud them, see their efforts. They need to be seen and heard. And to be mindful of what our children are doing. Are they struggling? For the first time, we have them under our noses. I implore parents to connect with their children. The other C would be to care. It gives parents the chance to show that they care for their children, helping out with difficult assignments, reading to them, now that they have the time to do so, cooking their favorite dishes, helping them to cook, looking at alternative websites, Netflix, discussions, researching together, and handling the frustrations that they have by not being able to play and meet friends. I've had to even buy another Geo dongle for the purpose of online classes at home, because the devices that we had at home were being stretched to the limit. The third C I would call community. We've got to build this community of you, me, and together. This is the time for family togetherness. Am I building a safe, emotional home for my child? Is what parents need to ask themselves. Is there quarreling? Are there domestic, disagreements? This is the chance to practice selfless giving and to inculcate the true values of what is essential and what are luxuries. This is the time to help our children see the plight of the less fortunate, struggling at this time, and to inculcate in them the feelings of empathy, gratitude, and equality. I'd also use another C. The fourth C would be credit accounts, or the emotional bank balance. Are we depositing enough emotional credit with our children? When you bank emotional credit with a child, it means making the child feel good, as I said earlier, so that later on emotional withdrawals could be made. When you tell a child a lot of good things, when you affirm a child, you can then say to him, no more than 2 hours of TV, or I don't like that. But without emotional inputs and credit accounts, you cannot make too many withdrawals later on. The fifth C is parents need to ask themselves, are they playing cop, critic, or coach? And this is a good time to figure out which position we as parents are taking. I guess at some time or the other, we are going to be a cop, sometimes critic, and sometimes coach. But I think it's a good time for parents to take stock of what is their preferred position. The other one, the next thing I think was to try and see what narratives the parents are weaving for their children. There are so many stories emerging at this time, stories of courage and heroism. Children also want to hear the family stories, where they belong, where their families came from. And most importantly, children also want to hear the stories of failures, not only of the successes, of values that the family is based on. You know, what is the values that this family is based on? Children like to hear that. This is also a very good time for the parents to help develop what I call I skills in children, or the executive functions. Things like inhibition control, self-regulation, focused thinking, time management, organizational skills, sustained effort, and of course, making transition between one task and the other. I skills are very important to be taught to children even before they come to school. Are they getting up on time? Are they brushing their teeth? Are they grooming? Are they eating a healthy diet? Are they tidying their room? Are they helping out with housework, with cooking, with washing, with drying clothes? Are they doing their homework on time? Are they thinking of others in the family, older members probably? Are they treating guests with respect? Are they being taught manners? Too many parents leave it up to the schools to do everything. But children come to school by the age of 5 or 6, by which times the I skills should have been well established. And when this has been failed to have, when parents fail to do the I skills, then they look at the school to compensate, and sometimes it may be too late. I once read a book called All I Ever Needed to Know, I Learned in Kindergarten. And I tell you, some of the most basic skills that are needed all our lives, we pick up before we even get to schools. And so I'll end here by saying, we have been given this time. Are we spending this time usefully? Because let's make the best of it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Over to you, Shubhayu.
Thank you so much, sir, for the 5 C's and those wonderful words of advice to all the parents who are now listening in. Before we move on, there's another C that is affecting us that I needed to tell everybody about. As most of you know, the cyclone Amphan has made landfall in Kolkata, where some of us are based, including some of our panelists and attendees, which is why we might experience some technological difficulties during the course of the webinar. We have countermeasures set up, so we would request you to please bear with us. Another request, I can see a lot of you raising your hands. I'm sure you have questions, and with such a stellar panel, why not? But it would really help us moderate the questions better if you could use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screens. Right at the bottom, you would find this small button called Q&A. If you click on that and type in your questions, we have a question and answer hour set up at the end of the session. We will address as many questions as we possibly can. Thank you so much. Next, we move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Achin Bhattacharya. Achin is the founder and CEO of Notebook. He is a chartered accountant by training, and he was a director at Deloitte before starting Notebook. Achin has worked in India and abroad in various senior capacities in GE, PwC, KPMG, and Deloitte. He is an avid reader and a passionate traveler. He has a keen interest in economics, history, literature, and philosophy. He is a regular speaker at various forums and chambers of commerce, and also contributes articles to numerous publications regularly. He is also on the board of some of the most renowned corporates and contributes significantly to brand strategies. Achin, over to you.
Thank you, Shubhayu. Am I audible?
Yep, loud and clear.
Good evening, everyone. I once again welcome all of you to this session. I would like to thank you for taking your time out to be here with us today. A very special note of gratitude to our esteemed panelists for agreeing to come and enlighten us with their views. Now, the topics that we have touched upon during our last few sessions have not only been related to academics, but also the softer issues that we deal with regarding emotional and psychological well-being of students, teachers, and parents. It has been an absolute pleasure to connect with some of the best minds from various walks of life and getting their unique perspective on matters which are affecting all of us. Now, as Shubhayu mentioned, it's an unusual day here at Kolkata, as Cyclone Amphan is literally lashing down on our neck. It may unfortunately this is an unfortunate demonstration of nature's fury. Eastern states of Orissa and West Bengal may be impacted. We sincerely hope that we do not face any connectivity issues during our session, and apologize in advance for any such disturbance which is beyond our control. We also pray for the safety and well-being of one and all during this hour of natural calamity. Now, today we have a very interesting discussion in hand. We are discussing about an experience that we are all living through at this critical juncture. Role of parents in a child's upbringing is a topic which is as vast as something can be. And being a father to two very naughty 3-year-old twin boys who drive us crazy at every given opportunity, I understand the infinite number of dimensions from which one can look at parenting. However, today we will confine our discussion to the current lockdown scenario. Now, although things have been eased off considerably in lockdown 4, it will still take some time before which school will actually be able to open their gates. Now, if we make a list of who all a child is missing, he or she is missing his school, his friends, his teachers. Now, although they are present every single day virtually conducting online classes, teachers are doing a phenomenal job. They miss their play dates, their sleepovers. Now, the parent in a lockdown scenario need to not only make up for the physical presence of the teacher and friends, but also the Golgappa wala outside the school gate. So there are multiple hats that we wear. Hence, what does the parent do? Although roles may vary considerably depending upon the age of your child, here are a few broad pointers that I would like to, discuss on. First and foremost, there is too much of information everywhere. So it's important that we speak to them more often in a calm manner about what's happening around, and the safety and social distancing precautions that they must take. We should always be the first point of information. That's very important, I believe. Now, I'll discuss about one very interesting trend that we have seen at Notebook in terms of parental involvement. During this phase, say last 1.5 months, 2 months, during this phase, we have seen more than 5 lakh students actively using our platform. But what really makes me happy is the extent of parents, and in some cases even grandparents, involvement in the whole thing. Now, the other day, I was going through a feedback mail. Now, there are small insights that I would like to share with all of you. Now, this mail was written by a class 9 student and was dictated to her by her father. She wrote that too in the mail. Her father, what I understand, her father is a professor in history. She wrote to me that very often she sees some of our literature and history videos in Smart TV during morning hours while having breakfast with the whole family. And since we follow an augmented storytelling approach, the whole family enjoys and gives company to her. Now that's wonderful, right? Everybody participating in the child's learning journey. Her father also appreciated our work and gave some brilliant insights about French Revolution. Now, apparently that was the last topic which they saw that day, and how he had gathered such knowledge during one of his cross-border university exchange programs. Now that was wonderful. Similarly, other day we got a call from a senior retired teacher from Bulandshahr. He had seen a beautiful notebook video on a topic called Light of Asia. I understand it may be in class 11, and is based on the life and teachings of Gautam Buddha. Now this gentleman had watched this with his grandson and was so pleased that he blessed us from the core of his heart. Now, this shows the kind of involvement, the kind of parental involvement, the entire family coming together to support the child. That's wonderful, right? The other day, I was just going through a very emotional note, which was penned down by a mother with regard to a student. This was from West Bengal, on how she catches occasional glimpse on her son's computer from her kitchen window. Now, this really gives me goosebumps. As a brand, this socio-economic return, this feeling of being able to contribute in the life of so many motivates our entire team to work hard. Now, during this crisis, when I see people coming together, families coming together as a unit, they're bonding together. So that's the entire support system that a child has. I guess that's wonderful. Now, moving on, contrary to public perception, by and large, teachers and students have adapted to technology very fast. Now, I must compliment our teachers and even the role of parents in supporting, their kids to come up. Once you come to terms with something, I believe that, once you come to terms with something, you find a way to live with it and eventually master it. So technology, yeah, there are challenges. I'll not deny that. But still, by and large, people have adapted to technology very fast. But the challenge that we have seen has been more with regard to the softer issues, which relate to the emotional and psychological well-being of the student. And I believe parents have a huge role in it. Now, there's no denying the fact that parents are themselves under a lot of stress as they're working from home in an atmosphere of so much of economic uncertainty, and also simultaneously managing housework and kids. That's a lot, right? Still, I believe great care needs to be taken to not pass on such stress to the children. As a parent, we can move mountains and make possible the impossible. But what we cannot do is look at the sad face of our children. Now, we were witnessing this aspect. And in order to contribute, we at Notebook started holding regular webinars with eminent panelists, including child counselors, senior teachers, globally renowned social workers, journalists, senior decorated officers from our armed forces, international cricketers. We want these real life achievers to come and speak about their experience to everyone with an objective of motivating us and promoting a more wholesome education and upbringing, which I believe will ultimately create a more conducive learning community. Another aspect which I feel is very important is promoting self-sufficiency. Now, my 3-year-old twin boys help me with making their bed and arranging their toys in the playroom. Now, at times they increase my work, but I'm happy with their contribution. I see them wanting to do more and even seriously getting excited, trying to mop the floor. I guess this is an opportunity for all of us to make our kids more self-reliant, more self-sufficient. And even post-lockdown, that should continue. Now, another challenge that I would like to highlight is how do we help children manage their digital classes? For the first time in their life, your little one is expected to sit in front of the computer for hours and study. At times, he may get excited after seeing some familiar faces in the screen, but there is no scope for respite as the class goes on under the watchful eyes of the teacher. Now, looking at things from the kid's perspective, it's taxing at times. It may be little too taxing for him, I'll say. Also, it may be tough for parents to give company or provide a dedicated laptop, as they may also be working from home. That's a practical challenge. But we do need to support our children in the new world, keep their morale high, take turns to supervise them, and also appreciate the phenomenal hard work that their teachers are putting in. I guess that's incredible. On a lighter note, after this lockdown, I'm sure that all of us will be even more respectful towards schools and teachers, because this is important for the phenomenal role they play in our life by taking such good care of our children and nurturing them with discipline for a better tomorrow. Now, when we are trying to step into their shoes, even for a few months, we understand what they go through day in and day out. Now, another very important aspect, I believe, is that as a generation, our children at times miss the storytelling culture. Now, this I believe is really very important, that we as kids have grown up with, listening to the tales of our parents and grandparents during those evening hours at the terrace, falling asleep while listening to their narrative, while gazing the stars. As a brand, we at Notebook want to bring that engaging storytelling culture back, even in this fast-paced world. Now, when most of us live in nuclear families, that engaging storytelling culture is somewhere missing. And that, I believe, is really a matter of concern. I guess this is a wonderful opportunity for all of us to be the most sought after storyteller at home, so that the children literally eats out of our hand. Once for a few days, we need to ask ourselves this question: can we step out of the shoes of the busy professional, successful entrepreneur, or intellectual academician that we are? And can we be a playmate for those whom we love the most, to bring smile to their faces? So that is from my side. I believe we have a wonderful panel here today, and I'm sure that they're going to enlighten us further with their deliberation, thought process, and real life experiences on this particular topic. Thank you all for giving me a patient hearing. I look forward to come back and interact with you more during our question answer session. Over to you, Shubhayu.
Thank you so much, Achin. I will take a cue from Achin's last point about storytelling and show you a little bit about the product that we work on. What you're seeing on your screens right now is how Notebook looks when you open it up. Right now, to help schools and parents combat the effects of the lockdown, Notebook has been made completely free. If you can use this username, study at home, and password 1234 and log in, you would enter a world where every single class and every single subject has been taken care of with great detail. The unique thing about Notebook has been the storytelling that we try to build into whatever we teach. These short, crisp videos are always less than 10 minutes in length, and they are built so that they can augment the teacher's efforts inside the classroom and outside it. The videos are made with a lot of hand-drawn illustrations, great music, and have some element of instructor-led teaching, whereas there are other elements like illustrations and animations. We have also divided the whole school system into two parts. One is up to class 8, where we focus on greater understanding of concepts, and classes 9 and above, where the focus is more on cracking their exams. Keeping that in mind, in a topic like this, we would provide question banks in a written format that helps students write answers in their exams better. That was a short demo from our side. I know all of you are eagerly waiting for the panel to start, and so I won't keep you from that. It is my great privilege to introduce our eminent panel to you today. We have with us Dr. Mona Khanna. Dr. Mona Khanna is a proficient academician who has more than 19 years of rich experience in education. As the Vice Principal of Union World School in Dehradun, she has been actively involved in enhancing career opportunities for her students. Prior to this, she was heading the mathematics department at the prestigious Doon School. While focus on the core academics is top priority for Dr. Khanna, she steers the students towards critical thinking and teamwork to be competitive and yet collaborative in the ever-evolving global economy. She was awarded the Fulbright Fellowship for the Teaching Excellence and Achievement Program. Her background in education is enriched with notable research work, getting her doctorate in the field of space dynamics and being a member of CFRSC, the Center for Fundamental Research in Space and Celestial Mechanics. She ensures that the learning community is characterized by a shared mission, vision, and values, collaboration, results orientation, and continuous improvement. Dr. Khanna, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks a lot, Achin, for giving me this opportunity to express my views on such an intriguing topic. Current situation, as we all know, requires redefining of roles for all of us, be it a parent or an educator. In the past few decades, education sector has been considered as a service sector actually. Quite a few people, not everyone I would say, where the teacher was a service provider and the students and parents became the customers. So sense of gratitude has lessened to quite an extent. Studying in schools has become an entitlement. This pandemic is a unique opportunity for the reversal of roles. I would say reversal of loco parentis, which means now the children are under the supervision of their parents 24/7. Be it the role of teacher, mentor, sahikas, or maybe the housemasters in case of boarding schools, all are now supposed to be performed by the parent. It is an increased responsibility and shall require mindful parenting. Why I say mindful is because this is what the teachers have been doing till now. They have been doing mindful teaching and shall continue to do so. They have designed, created, curated their lessons in a planned and engaging manner. But the parents only got to see the end product and not the process. Now when the children are with the parents 24/7, all the time, they see the classes happening, parents shall be playing an important role in influencing the attitude of their kids. There has to be a paradigm shift from the traditional to quality parenting. In fact, we have to bring about a sociological change, not only in our school, pan-India, in fact, the entire world. This is the time for parents to invest in the lives of their sons and daughters and change the tools of parenting. Why I say the tools of parenting is, what have we been doing till now? We have invested, but we have invested in terms of provider. The parents, many a times, like the way they provided gifts or money to provide things. They took them out for meals. It was a reward policy. But now, in this current situation, this reward policy doesn't hold good. But even if we had the money, even if we had the time to go out, we cannot. So the parenting from default mode has to change. The tools of parenting have to change. Instead of following a fixed set of to-do tasks, we should try, as a parent, we should try. I am talking from both the sides. I am an educator as a parent to two teenagers. So we should try and listen to the child and help them develop the skills for tomorrow. Help them nurture creativity, communication skills, and teach them to collaborate, along with empathy and the power of teamwork. Because if they did not know how to work in a team and collaborate, their classes would go for a toss. Because a lot of learning is now based on, it is a project-based learning. And you need to connect with your peers, your educators. We should help them observe, and the parents should help them observe and learn by seeing their dad work alongside the mom. Give back to the community in a big way, because this is the time when we can help the people who have been working for us. As Philip mentioned, even you said that, teach them to be self-reliant. Most importantly, we have to help them stay fit and work on their immunity alongside the parents, because this is what is going to help them sail through. And fortunately, it should become a lifelong habit for the kids. In the recent past, parents have started, children, I would say, parents, children, a lot of us have started taking things for granted, including relationships. In the mad race, there was no time to invest in the relationships. This is the time to teach them to nurture those relationships. strengthen them. Parents, an equal stakeholder, are now serving as the only direct touch point that teachers have with their students. In an ideal classroom, teachers, when we look at the child in a class or moving around in the school, you can pick on from the actions, from their energy level, whether the child is happy, satisfied, or is upset about something. But when they are home, it is now the responsibility of the parent to look at them and find out whether the child is okay or not. And in case there is an issue, the parents should help the educators. They should get back to the school and help resolve this issue together in a collaborative manner. The entire teaching module, these were the soft skills which the parents should nurture in a child. Now when we come to the online classes, so the entire teaching module has shifted to online classes. The schools also understand that parents are doubling up their duties both by working from home and working at home. They definitely deserve a pat for being a parent, teacher, and an employee. Wearing so many hats has left the parents stretched. From what started as a vacation time, in fact, all the children returned home with a lot of enthusiasm as if they got a vacation before summer vacations. All of us thought we got some extra family time, fun, play time, relaxed hours. But now the situation is grim. It has extended to about 2 months with people getting on each other's nerves, fretting, emotional meltdowns. But now with the online classes, once the classes have begun, some structure has been given to them. Otherwise, children had lost the routine. There was no purpose. But now remote learning itself has profound problems. Technology is definitely challenging for quite a few parents. But having said that, we will have to devise ways and measures to provide support and technology to children. To the remotest areas, technology, the government is, transmitting the lessons. The online lessons are being transmitted through TV channels so that it is accessible to children in the remotest area and of the weakest level. But those who can afford it, parents have time at their end. Not all the time, but yes, definitely more than what they have. They are expected to supervise their kids, to support education, and should act as enablers and facilitators of the entire process. I would request them that they should take interest, but not interfere in the manner in which the classes are being conducted. So there are times when parents take a sneak peek because we get to hear all of that in an online class. And maybe for that particular moment, a joke is being shared and the parent get upset about a public school teacher for conversing in Hindi. They will not even realize at times that this is the connect between the teacher and the taught. So they should not become judgmental and assess and blame the entire system based on that one particular incident. Have trust and faith in your child's gurus. Believe me, apart from the frontline workers, teaching community is the only one who are working day and night to make learning possible for the children, because for them it is an entire shift of mindset. They are toiling day and night to plan for their lessons. Huge apprehension, not confident at times, jittery in spite of having an experience of about 30 years, having a great connect with the students. They are still, in spite of having a vast experience, they are so jittery. So please, I would expect the parents to be more open and bring in a culture of acceptance. Don't judge them. Give them some time, allow them. Parents will have to be a part of their child's learning and give them the tools to be ahead of the curve. Their own learning and the parentship, the bonding between both of them, the child and the parent, will be the key to maximize the potential. Another important issue which we are facing, the entire education community is facing, is the parents' concern over the school fee. What they need to realize is that the school continues to meet its commitments and the responsibilities of salaries, housekeeping, security, sanitation, even more in today's time, tank cleaning, hardware, software, buses, Wi-Fi, CCTV, upgradation of equipment, because a lot of technology has to be brought in now. Estate maintenance, pest control, so many things have to be upgraded in today's time. While the school needs to continue to meet these commitments, we fully understand that in prevailing circumstances, parents, a lot of parents are under a lot of stress. They might have lost their jobs. They are undergoing general hardships of their businesses. Their restricted access to banks and the slowdown of economy. I will request the parents to understand and help us to continue to meet the high standards of infrastructure. However, at the same time, we should sit together and resolve these in an amicable manner and not apply the policy of one size fits all. There are a lot of parents who can afford to pay the fees, and that is essential to help the system run. So these are few points which I wanted to touch upon, and I will request the parents to spend time with their children, enjoy the early morning sun, have relaxed breakfast, play the shadows on the wall, try answering their whys in house, talk to them about family histories, stay with them, stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for those opening remarks. We will circle back to you once we have the opening remarks from all the panelists. The key takeaways there were mutual respect and empathy between parents and teachers would go a long way. Next, we come to somebody who works on a daily basis with the emotional upkeep of students. Ms. Ruvena Sanyal is a consulting psychologist. She is the senior school counselor at La Martiniere for Boys, Kolkata. She is also a consultant for child and adolescent mental health issues. She conducts training programs and workshops for teachers, parents, and students, and has been associated with the Leadership Program for Principals run by the ICSE Council. Ms. Sanyal, if you could please have you speak your opening statements. Ma'am, are you there?
Hello,
Yes,
am I
ma'am.
audible?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you now.
A very good evening to all of you who have tuned in to this panel discussion this evening. And once again, thank you to Notebook for inviting me to be a part of this discussion. I would first like to focus on some of the comments that were made by the panelists before me. And I would like to thank them for doing that because they've made my job infinitely easier. Some very excellent remarks were brought forward by Mr. Barrett as well as by Dr. Chauhan, underlining the need for empathy, the need for respect, the need for the teacher and the parent to interact more often and to be positive in their relationships with each other, because at the end of the day, we're looking at the benefit of the child. To take this discussion forward, what I'd like to do first is to highlight and kind of summarize all of the problems that families are facing in this current lockdown situation. In general, we have looked at things like parents working from home. There are also parents working away from home. If you look at the police personnel, the doctors and the nurses and the other ancillary health staff, parents who are stranded away from home, who've gone out to work and are unable to return because of the lockdown. We're looking at families who have in the past been grappling with a variety of problems and have now been thrown into this new situation of being locked down with those problems still in place. So we're looking at families that are separated legally by divorce. We're looking at families that have children who are suffering from different kinds of intellectual and physical disabilities. Children with autism, children with intellectual disabilities, children with learning difficulties. We're also looking at families that have elderly parents, maybe some of them who require urgent medical treatment and are unable to get that kind of treatment in this current lockdown situation. Dr. Chauhan also underlined the fear and the insecurity that certain families are going through because of pay cuts and job losses. We're also looking at very simple day-to-day things like no external help. So it's the parents who have to take care of work from home, at the same time doing all of the chores that are required to hold a house and family together. On a slightly darker note, there are instances of domestic violence, substance abuse, child abuse. And against this backdrop, we are looking at children doing online classes, unable to meet friends, parents worried about increased screen time, leading to a further addiction to mobiles and other gadgets. So at the end of this entire summary, what we're actually looking at are feelings and emotions like frustration, aggression, insecurity, fear, anger, all of which contributes to rising stress levels. And it's a vicious circle. One thing leads to another. Now, no one ever said that parenting is easy, but parenting is a conscious choice that most of us have made. Unfortunately, no one comes equipped with the skills of being a good parent. We fumble, we stumble, we learn as we go along, and by the time the children have grown and flown the nest, we realize that we've done a pretty good job. But it's this journey that is quite tough, and the lockdown is not making it any easier. And I'm sure there are many parents who at the end of the day feel as if they're living in, something like an Ekta Kapoor serial kind of a situation, family drama happening every minute of the day. And you end up wondering, what can I do to ease the situation for myself as well as for my family? So I think some of the earlier panelists have identified some very interesting ways of moving forward. Dr. Chauhan underlined the need for parents to change the tools of parenting. She also mentioned a reversal of roles, a renewal of roles, going from roles into what Mr. Barrett mentioned about parents being cop, critic, coach. I think all of these are ways forward. But I would like to highlight one very vital thread which will possibly stitch together the fabric of family life in such difficult times. And I think it's summed up in one word: communication. I don't think anyone here will disagree with me if I say that the advent of the computer age has made us more connected to the world at large, while making us less connected to the ones who really matter. So if I want to be optimistic and positive, then I would say that this lockdown has granted each one of us a golden opportunity to open up those long silent lines of communication with our loved ones. So people, what I'm trying to say here is talk, talk, and keep on talking. Man is by nature social and communicative. And so it is very important for us at this point in time to reestablish connections with family and with friends. So make those long awaited phone calls that you've been promising to do. Check up on the old aunt, uncle, or cousin who stays alone. And in this process, engage your children in these activities. Identify some time during the day or maybe in the week as a no gadget or a digital detox time. And what will you do when you are switching off your gadgets and staying away from the screen? Well, take out those old family albums, dust off the cobwebs, look for those old family videos, start sharing. Share memories, share anecdotes. Let your children see a different side of you. You know that funky, giggly teenage girl who would wear let's say, striped bell bottoms and go goggles, or that long haired dude who's playing a guitar or trying to do so. And as you laugh along with your children, you'll be sending out very subtle subliminal messages that I was young once, I've been there, I've done that, I was also just like you. And this will not only help you to reconnect and rewire your relationship, it will create long lasting bonds of communication. I loved what Mr. Burrett said about an emotional bank balance. This is what I'm trying to highlight here. You will be investing in an emotional credit account. And just to end my opening remarks, the one line that I very often hear in my line of work is, my child doesn't listen to me. Well, if you try to reconnect those wires of communication, you'll possibly be pleasantly surprised. And I'm sure as this discussion progresses further, we'll look at more ways of reconnecting with our family, with our friends, with our children, so that we will eventually have a much larger positive takeaway from this lockdown situation than we are expecting to. Thank you so much for listening to me. Over to you, Mr. Roy.
I guess this is Achin here. I guess Shubhayu has dropped off. Might be some connectivity issues considering the weather conditions that we are facing. So I think great insights by Rowena. Before we wrap up, like a few questions that I would like to take. So some very interesting questions have come. So we'll go one by one, and I'll request our esteemed panel to share the insights on the same. Now, this one I understand is from Mr. Burrett. Burrett, sir, you're there?
Yes, I am, Achin.
Yeah. So this is for you. This one has, I think, quite interesting. This is about time management. So how do you manage time with work? Work means, I understand, might be office work, housework, and teaching kids, etc. So the question is with regard to time management, considering the multiple hats that a parent needs to wear.
Okay. All right. So am I audible, Achin?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Okay. So my short answer to that very tricky question is that I don't think anyone can handle time. I think time is a, is something that you can't handle. We are just given 24 hours and that's it. We can only handle ourselves. So the only thing that we can work on is how we deal with time. We can't change time. And to that extent, I found that they're either time conscious people or people who don't have any idea of time. And how I help people or children who are not, are not cognizant of routine and time is we teach them to prioritize, And I know that some people are hard pressed and there's so much to do, but I think if you break up your day into what can be done, what should be done, and what must be done, and you prioritize, I think that's an easy answer to how do you get in the most important things, and then how do you the things that you must leave for the end are the things that are the most pleasurable, but they can wait, So that's the only thing. I think you have to set up in the morning, I practice this. I get up in the morning and I just jot down all the things I need to do, and I prioritize. At the end of the day, what I haven't finished, I carry over to the next day's work. And after 3 days, if I find the carryover has gone on for 3 days, then I ask myself, what is the problem here? What is the block? Why am I avoiding this? But generally, by the second day, it gets done. So I hope I've answered that in some ways, Achin.
Yes, sir. I think very insightful. I understand, Shubhayu, you're back.
Yes, Achin. As we mentioned earlier, the cyclone is raging here in the complete total fury. And the wind speeds outside are upwards of 180 kilometers per hour, which is causing a bit of a havoc with our connectivity.
So we just started with the question and answer. Shubhayu, so would you like
All
to
right.
continue?
Would be better if you carry on because I can't look at the questions right now.
No worries, no worries. So I think I'll take this forward. Next one, I understand is for Dr. Khanna. So this is a very interesting question, I guess. Ma'am, you're a teacher and a parent. How do you see both the roles? Do they conflict or complement each other? Having seen things from both the sides. Over to you, Dr. Khanna.
Thank you. The best way forward is that we work as equal stakeholders. Not only the teacher, parent, but the student as well. And that is when you get the best answer forward. So I see it from the parent's point of view also and from the teacher's point of view also. And again, as I said earlier, you should have mutual respect for each other and you should be able to talk it out and resolve it. So then I don't see any conflict. We have had issues where we should be ready, we should be ready to agree to disagree. And then that helps us solving the problems.
Thank you, ma'am. I guess that was very appropriate and objective. Thank you for this. Next one is from Ms. Anyal. So this again is a very interesting question. The question says that I understand that there's no secret pill for emotional well-being and good parenting. But if I may ask you, few key takeaways which will help in good parenting. So might be quick, around 5 or 10 points if you could share with us.
Great. Yes, absolutely. There is no secret pill, and there are no sure shot absolute solutions. As I said right at the beginning, we learn as we go along. However, as I said, I think communication is our starting point, because when we become more interactive, we are able to understand things from the other person's perspective. That is what empathy actually means, when you're able to stand in the other person's shoes and understand it from their point of view. So as a parent, if you stop for a little while being the monster mom who's nagging and poking and constantly asking questions of how was your class and what did the teacher teach you, instead of focusing on that, and if you get into the child's shoes and understand how frustrating and tiresome it can be for that child to not see his friends for days on end, 57, 58 days, not seeing your friends, not being able to talk to somebody whom you gel with at a mental level, not being able to play, not being able to go out and enjoy that fresh air and breeze that you do when you're on your way to school, when you're on the school field kicking the football around, somebody's throwing a ball at you. You know, those experiences that children have, to be locked into a room, to be made to feel like a caged bird. I think as parents, if you're able to get into our child's shoes and feel that, that in itself takes us forward in our understanding of our children. There are other things that we can do. I think we need to reconnect with ourselves when we were younger. So what were the special skills or talents or hobbies that we used to indulge in? Can we take those up again? Can we make maybe 1 hour or 2 hours in an entire week? Can we take a little time to polish up our own long lost, long hidden skills, pull them out of the cupboard, and then teach it to the child or perform that skill with the child? So if the parent knows how to play an instrument, if the parent used to be very good at singing or is an excellent dancer and has not touched an instrument in a couple of years because of the rat race that they've been running, why not do it now and do it along with your child? So find time to dance together, sing together, cook together, learn an instrument together, doing things together. Another thing that parents need to understand is that when they strengthen the bonds of communication, they are listening more often, and they are then showing the child patience, They are showing the child a role model to follow, a patient role model to follow, an understanding role model to follow. So the child begins to pattern on that behavior. If a parent is calm, the child becomes calm. If a parent is hyperactive, the child will automatically be hyperactive. So from there, moving into how do you react as a parent? Try not to react with anger, frustration, or irritation. If you're feeling that way, move away from the situation. Go and sit in another room. Walk around in the balcony or on the terrace. Cool down. Then return back to have a calm discussion with the child. Because it is your duty and responsibility as a parent to handle things with wisdom, patience, and positivity. If you find that you are extremely busy and you cannot do all of the things that you would like to do, how about involving grandparents? I think Mr. Bhattacharya mentioned this age-old tradition of storytelling. It doesn't need to be a parent who's telling a story to the child. We now have FaceTime, we have video calls. Why not have a grandparent living in another city, calling in at a particular time, say 8, 8:30, 9:30 in the night, and actually telling the child a story while the child is lying in bed? Why not? So involve your grandparents. And while we are giving all of these suggestions and solutions and little bits of advice, it's also important to understand that not all of this will work. In fact, it may not. And that is when you may want to even seek professional help. We have helplines galore. We have counselors who are waiting to share their knowledge, advice, and expertise with you. And if you do not have such facilities in your city or in your town, you may even reach out to your child's teachers. Understand that these are well meaning adults, qualified, experienced in their own ways, and they have a very different connect with your child than you have. So sometimes it may help to speak to a teacher, reach out to a teacher, and ask the teacher to intervene or to explain things to a child in a way in which you may not be able to. So it may also be a good idea to keep in touch with school, with teachers, and in doing so, be positive, be encouraging, and yes, also please be grateful. To end this, I think it's very important for us to be patient, to be proactive, and to be positive parents, because remember that years later, when this pandemic is over, when your children have memories of this time, let them be good memories. Let them be memories that are filled with learning experiences and filled with joy and filled with hope, because that is what they will be taking forward into the future and sharing with their children as well. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, Ruvena. I guess very good deliberation. Thank you for that. Now, quickly before we wrap up, considering this unpredictable weather and the way it's increasing its fury, one last question. So I guess I'll take a shot at it. How do you think digital education will evolve post the pandemic? Okay, so good question. So in fact, the way I look at it, convenience by solving logistical bottlenecks with the aid of technology has become a way of life, and education cannot be an exception, right? So anything and everything. So starting from the way we book our cabs to the way we order our food is nothing but solving logistical challenges. So currently, I believe that not even 1% of students are accessing any structured online learning platform. And that explains the tremendous untapped potential that this sector offers. I believe that EdTech as a sector has huge potential. We can actually make a difference to the lives of millions by offering cost-effective, best-in-class education to every child in the country. But the actual potential of the sector will be unleashed only when we will be able to break all socioeconomic and geographical barriers. Now that is a challenge, right? Because we need to ensure that each child is able to learn from the best of teachers who are the masters of their craft. See, the way I look at it, the desire for good content is eternal and perpetual. However, in order to convert this desire into an actionable demand, there are few steps that need to be taken. First and foremost, the believability factor of EdTech being a serious quality solution provider needs to be built. This I understand is very important, right? Second, the platform needs to be responsive enough to chart out individual learning path for each student. Otherwise, how do you do it? Every student has a unique learning curve. Now, this has to be done based on assessment outcomes and various other parameters, exactly the way a good teacher guides a student according to his or her individual requirement. Also, another aspect which I understand is very important is to have long-term collaborations between government and players in private sector, as only state has a distribution machinery needed to ensure access to every child. So I believe this answers the question.
Thank you, Achin. I would just come back to invite you back for the vote of thanks. We are facing terrible weather and technical difficulties here. So to wrap up,
Sure.
Achin, can we have you back for the vote of thanks?
Sure, Shubhari, sure. We'll wrap this up very quickly. But before that, with regard to the way education will be post this pandemic, I would just request closing remarks. I understand from Dr. Khanna and Bharat sir and Ruvena. Just quick closing remarks, if I may request. Bharat sir, if we start with you.
Yes. Okay. So just to say that, taking a leaf out of my own book, I can't say that I'm enjoying the lockdown, but I'm really enjoying the time I have with my young daughter. And, although I'm quite a hands-on dad, I think I'm a hands-on dad. This is giving me another chance, a chance of seeing her in action in another way. And I can tell you one thing, she's really moved forward in her academics. I've seen her blossom and grow, especially her Hindi, let me tell you, and her mathematics. It's actually improved over the last few months. And she's singing, she's dancing, she's actually pushing me to be more creative. I am thinking of ways, to keep her busy, entertainment. And as Ms. Sanyal said, I picked up my musical instrument and we were jamming. And there's a lot of fun going on here. In fact, I'll be a little sad when she has to get back to school. So my last words is, I know it's tough out there for many parents. I know it's not as easy as I might be having it, but all the very best. I think my last words is, make the best use of this time with your children. Just cherish them and do all that you can with them now. Thank you. Thank you, Achin.
Thank you, Bharat sir, for these excellent positive remarks. Dr. Khanna, if I may quickly request you for your closing remarks. Dr. Khanna, I understand you're on mute, maybe.
Hello.
Yeah,
Am
ma'am.
I audible?
Yeah, ma'am. You're audible, loud and clear.
So some tips for the parents, some of them have been said earlier, but I would still like to reinforce. Parents must talk, educate, and reason out with their children. Because unless we talk to them and make them understand, things will not happen. Explain to them the importance of adhering to restrictions of this lockdown. Because unless they do that, things will not work out for all of us. The parents need to spend time with them and nurture the children and help cultivate a hobby or passion. Not only their hobby, at the same time, we can create one for us together as a parent and the child. Together, we can work on something, which will be a skill for life for all of us. Parents should be working on the emotional, mental, and the physical health of the children. While spending time with them, ensure that the child gets their own space. Do not intrude too much. Participate only when you are asked to participate. Have faith in the education system. Trust the gurus. Speak your mind. Have that mutual respect. And share your mind if you have some kind of conflict and where you think things are not working out well. As I said in the beginning, change the tools of parenting. It will help develop a strong relationship forever between your child and you. As Winston Churchill said, do not let any crisis go for a waste. So ensure that this crisis also does not go for a waste, make it an opportunity so that children and you can talk about it down the years as to could, what best you could make out of this difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Khanna, for your closing remarks. Now, if I may request Ms. Sanyal for your closing remarks.
Thank you. Two things that I would like to highlight before I thank all of you once again for being such a wonderful audience. In this current situation, fear is something that I think has become more pandemic than the pandemic itself. So I think it's also important in the conversations that parents have with their children to discuss this current situation. Let them voice their fears, and it's important for parents to share their anxieties and fears too. And it's okay to say that you don't have all the answers, that you are also struggling with the current situation, that it is new to all of you, and that you are going through this journey together, and that you're going to face it together, and that you're going to be brave together. Another little thing which I think is extremely important for us to practice every day would be gratitude, exercising our ability to be grateful. To be grateful that we are alive, to be grateful that we have families and that we are together with our families under a safe roof, that we have a lot more uh, to enjoy on a daily basis than what so many millions around the world don't have. People don't have their health, they don't have money to eat, they don't have connections with their family members. There are people who are alone, there are people who are suffering mentally, physically, emotionally, and there are people who at this point in time are absolutely directionless. So at the end of every day, even if it is not a spiritual exercise of praying, if it is just the 3 or 4 members of the family just getting together, sitting around in a little huddle or in a little circle and expressing gratitude. Gratitude that we are still alive, that we're still healthy, and that we're facing this situation together. I think that also would serve to strengthen the bonds of family life and give you the strength to meet the new day and to meet the new challenges that this pandemic is throwing up. And once again, as I said earlier as well, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to express myself and to get across to so many interested individuals out there. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Ms. Sanyal. I think before I wrap up, one quick thing. We're also looking forward to hear from our esteemed panelist, Ms. Ira Chauhan, but unfortunately, because of some technical issue, she had to drop off. We really look forward to hearing from her soon in one of our next sessions. So I really thank all of you for being with us here today. It was a wonderful session. Bharat sir, great insights, but a personal complaint is really difficult to speak after you, considering the fact that you really raise the bar and make things difficult for me. But thank you so much.
Okay,
So
thank you so much, Achin.
Dr. Khanna, your words of wisdom, experience, maturity really added a new dimension. And as you rightly mentioned, rightly quoted Winston Churchill, that no crisis should go to waste. Indeed, as members of the educational fraternity, part of the educational ecosystem, all of us, we stand in united resolve to do our best to ensure that children's learning should not be hampered. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to participate in this insightful discussion. Thank you.
It's our pleasure and privilege. Ms. Anyal, really insightful, and I really like the way, the key takeaways which you focused on, the role play. Exactly, I think very practical and relevant. All of us who attended this today, I'm sure, teachers, parents, all of us who attended this today we go back with some excellent takeaways. Indeed, I also thank the audience. We had a wonderful participation today. Thank all of you for being with us here today during these times. Stay safe, take care, and goodbye. Thank you.